The good, the bad, and the ugly of TikTok wedding advice. Hi, my name is Jamie Wolfer. I'm your online wedding planner, and in today's video, we are going to be reacting to viral wedding advice on TikTok, which is basically what I just said. Just word salad jumbled back together into a new sentence. If you're new here, I've been planning weddings since 2015, been doing online content creation at YouTube since January 1st of 2018, because your girl loves a dramatic intro, and so I've kind of been doing this thing for a while now. So I've seen a lot of things that you should and you should not do. And don't get me wrong, I love advice. I love good advice. I also love bad advice because it tells you what to not do. But the problem is when you're scrolling through TikTok, a lot of times it's just the brides talking about what they think was successful on their wedding day, and sometimes it's not. So I think sometimes putting a governor on wedding talk is really important. So without further ado, let's just jump right on into it. Now this one's a screen recording because we couldn't save the video apparently, but it's worth watching.
I've never seen this done at a wedding before, and I think this is such a good idea. So you know those wedding scavenger hunts where they have disposable cameras out and they have a list of different photo ops of things that they want to have people try to get from their wedding?
Love those.
What if you did something similar to that, but for people's Instagram stories?
Yes.
So you give them a list of different things to document throughout your day. They'll post it to their Instagram stories. They tag you, and then you wake up the next morning with an inbox full of different angles from your wedding. I made it into a customizable template for you guys, so make sure to go check it out if this is something that you want to do for your wedding.
So as like a thank you to this gal, I'm gonna go ahead and link her template in the description. Here's what I love about this idea, okay? Because a lot of people think hashtags are dead. I don't think a ton of people really use them. What I like about this list specifically is it makes the person taking the photos and posting it to their Instagram the focus of this scavenger hunt of things. So the ideas we have here are fit check. So like take a photo of yourself in your outfit, right? Not of the bride and groom, not of the couple. Like we're not asking for more photos of ourselves. We're asking because we want to see you and see what your experience felt like. Cocktail hour fun, what you're experiencing, what the vibe is, the first dance, your drink of choice, super cute. Photo of your table, yes, because then they can save these to a highlight and watch them when they get their post-wedding depression and just like cycle through these. Your favorite decoration, sweet. A sweet moment, a candid photo of the couple, and the send-off. Love this, love everything about this. This is fantastic.
Well, okay. Here's
It's
5
Mikkel.
more things I'm planning to do.
Hi, Angel Baby Nugget.
Money, honey.
So these are budget saving tips from my sweet friend Mikkel. We actually go way back.
First, a sneaky little something about your venue choice. I learned there's a lot of venue options that you could pay to have your ceremony or reception at that technically is a charitable contribution. Yes. Therefore, meaning it's a tax deduction.
This is fantastic. This is thinking ahead. This is very mindful.
Some of those things could include some historic buildings, museums, state parks, national parks, churches. We're using one of those options as our venue, and then it is literally a tax deduction.
I love all of these ideas. These are fantastic. If you want to look for a venue in kind, you can go through government websites, your local county, your city, and see what historical buildings and or community centers are available to them. A lot of those could be considered tax write-offs. Museums are fantastic. They can be a little bit on the pricey end, even though it is a tax deduction. That's still a lot of money out of your pocket. Zoos are fantastic. Any 501c3 would be a great option. And yeah, like she said, churches as well.
And honestly, I'm kind of bored with the venues that were built just for weddings, but that's a me thing.
So boring. Look, it's made perfectly for venues. I love you, Miguel.
Next, rehearsal dinner. I did something a little sneaky.
Oh.
I got quotes from restaurants in the area to like host an event there, and it was so much money. So instead, I rented an Airbnb with multiple purposes. I basically found an Airbnb with a beautiful big yard, $400 a night, messaged the host, told them what I wanted to do, got permission, and I'm using that as the rehearsal dinner venue the night before the wedding and as the bridal suite the day of the wedding for everybody to come over and get ready at. $400. Then we're just going to order some catering delivery. And personally, I'm looking more forward to that than being in the corner of a restaurant as an experience.
Love this. And not only because I had this idea previously, we did this for my brother's wedding in San Diego, where we actually got an Airbnb, and it was like a 3-story, this thing was epic. It was like a 3-story Airbnb. And my whole family, so my family, my sister, my parents, we all stayed in it. And then we also hosted the rehearsal dinner. We did takeaway like this, where we just went and picked it up from a restaurant and had it set up. And obviously I'm a wedding planner, and my mom is the best hostess I've ever seen in my entire life. So like, it didn't feel clunky or weird. We had it on the rooftop, and it was literally stunning. I love this idea. Now, of course, we chose to use that as our home base for our family because we could put a bunch of families into it. But if you decide to do this as your getting ready location, it can also be where you guys go the night of your wedding night. So if you hit those places that are like a 2-night minimum, boom, you've got it covered. It's fantastic. The only issue is cleanup in between those activities. So obviously we had like 7 kids staying at this Airbnb. So we had to make sure things were really picked up. And then after the rehearsal dinner, we again had to make sure things were really picked up because we didn't want to be living in the chaos of that on the day of the wedding and the day afterwards. If you are choosing to have that as a rehearsal and then your getting ready space and then where you stay the night of your wedding, just make sure that things are picked up in between. Ideally not you, but we love this idea. And it's way cheaper and way less awkward than sitting in the corner of a restaurant.
3, let's talk wedding cake.
Okay.
Wedding cakes are so expensive, and I'm celiac, so gluten-free wedding cakes are kind of stressful and hard to come by. So as our main dessert, we're doing donuts.
Perfect.
Because I love donuts, and they're cheap as heck, but I do want a cake to cut into. So I'm going to order a gluten-free milk bar cake online for $67.
Done.
And if I'm feeling ambitious a couple days before the wedding, I'm going to order edible dried flowers off of Etsy for $6.
I wonder if she actually ended up doing this. I mean, I know this video is old because her and Jordy have they been married for a year yet?
And I'm going to try to just add white frosting myself and
Cute.
essentially put the flowers on it.
Cute.
We're going to make that call in the field. If I'm too stressed that week, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to serve it the way it is.
That's it. That's it right there. That's exactly what I want to hear. I need ideas that you are ready to ditch at the last minute because DIY sounds fun now. But the week of your wedding when you're like hosting people and finishing last minute details, like this may not sound fun. Okay. So we like ideas that we can ditch.
4 is instead of doing a lot of little programs or a lot of little menus, we're just going to do one big sign.
Boom.
We have friends that do lettering. We have graphic designer friends. Just one big printed sign so we don't have to have a ton of little things printed and everywhere. Also going to do a sign laying out the general timeline for the night with what food is going to be when so that people don't panic eat at the beginning of the night because we're going to have food kind of spaced out throughout the night. And if people panic eat, it costs more money.
Well, it doesn't necessarily cost more money. You'll just run out of food. Like you won't necessarily be charged more because the chef is not going to have more to make. You just won't have enough to go around. So I see where you're coming from. I've never heard of people talking about panic eating, but I could see my husband reasonably doing that. So there's some prudence here. I've actually never seen that at a wedding, so this is new for me. Also, if you're not sure what kind of signs you need to have for your wedding, I have a whole list of the signs that you need, as well as like a digital download if you want to kind of go through and feel like, do I need it? Do I not need it? Because it gets a little confusing and Pinterest gets a little overwhelming. And then you get on TikTok and everyone has all these great ideas and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to have 72 different signs. No. So go watch that video. I'll also leave that in the description box if you want to go check that out later. And the digital download if you just want to skip ahead and not watch the whole thing, which is weird that you'd come to a video platform to not watch the whole, but it's fine.
And the 5th unconventional thing that I want to do is wedding decor is so expensive. Backdrops, all of that's so expensive. So what we're wanting to do, when we take our engagement photos, we have videographer friends.
Cute.
We want to record some of the scenes on Super 8 film. And we want to project that onto a wall. We have a projector. It's basically going to be free and it's going to take up a whole wall of interesting decor. I love not spending so much money on a wedding.
I love Mikkel. You're such a goob. Okay, so I like this idea. I think this is really clever. As long as you have someone else other than you set it up. This is also because it's technology. We've run into issues in the past of things just not functioning quite right. So be sure to put this in someone else's charge, right? A cousin, a trusted person in your life, and have them do a dry run earlier at the venue or with the DJ or whatever you want to do with this. Because while we don't mind a blank wall, you don't have to fill in all the space. If your hope and intent was to have like Super 8 rolling of you guys, then you're going to want to make sure the technology actually works. Also, thanks, Mikkel. You had no idea I was doing this. And I actually haven't watched any of her wedding planning content at all. So it's very organic.
These two things make the absolute biggest difference in making your wedding look chic and expensive.
Okay.
More than any piece of decor, more than the most exquisite food and drink, more than the most elegant 12-piece band. I swear I will die on this hill.
These are some really bold claims. She will die on this hill.
Your wedding will go from looking like a conference to an event with just some uplighting and some pin spotting. What are uplights and pin spots? So uplights are floor-to-ceiling lights placed around the perimeter of a room. They're going to be in a color or colors of your choice. And they're usually going to be placed at the foot of a detail in the room. So standardly, You'll find them at the foot of a beam. You might find them shining up onto a sconce, maybe on a portrait if that's a detail highlight of the room. But they don't just highlight design elements. They draw out the shadows and they add so much vibrance to a space. Simply put, it's one of the most cost-effective ways to completely elevate your venue space.
Okay, I love this suggestion. In fact, if you go to rentmywedding.com, they have uplights that you can rent for very inexpensive. And you just have someone on your wedding party or someone that you love set those up for you. Or if you have a wedding planner or wedding coordinator and they're willing to do that, you can. My bone to pick with this specific one, though, is that these were all stunning venues that she showed examples of with like elegant pipe and drape or like really ornate walls. So yeah, these are going to look timeless and elegant. If we're doing this at a community center, that ain't the vibe. You know, like we don't exactly want to draw attention to the walls. So you need to have the right sort of like baseline to go off of if you're going to use uplights. I don't think they work in just any space. I had a venue for literally like a minute and a half, and I did a video where I brought in uplights. And for me personally, I didn't think that it worked, and they were gorgeous exposed brick walls. The building was built in 1914. May she rest in peace. I think she's still there. But to do the uplighting on those walls didn't make as much sense. Yeah, it highlighted the texture of the bricks, but I think the bricks spoke for themselves a whole lot more elegantly in some cases without them. So you can get those, yes, but those should mostly be on pillars or beams, in my opinion, in a venue that deserves to have the walls highlighted. If you've got soundproofing on the walls, do not highlight those.
If you're only going to choose one, I would say choose uplighting, but pin spotting is also amazing. Pin spotting is a similar idea. It's basically a mini spotlight. It's going to shine a bright light on your decor and detail elements, like your centerpieces. So even if your decor elements are really simple, it's going to look so much more extravagant in the overall space with a pin spot.
So again, same thing. The pin spots are cool, but you have to attach them up there somehow, like on the ceiling of your venue. So you either need like magnetized ones that can hang from ducting, and then you need a ladder or a scissor lift to get to those. So yes, again, these are great, and we're showing examples of like more higher end weddings, but the cost of getting those up there, the labor to get those up there, the rental of them might be pretty cheap, but like yeah, cool, timeless. Really difficult to install.
And also, if your design elements are a little bit more elaborate, without pin spots on them, you do run the risk of having them drown out in the space. So again, when you're looking at the space on a whole, you might not get the idea of the grandeur of your design elements without those pin spots on them. Listen to the prenup for more wedding tips.
Now, my guess is she's got a whole lot of fantastic wedding tips, and also that she works with a different echelon of budgets than I do, because what we're looking at here is like some pretty bougie budgets, which is great. Good for her and good for those clients. But for me, at least here on this channel and with all the DIY advice I give, I don't really work with a lot of couples over 50 grand. And so something like this is kind of really impractical. I don't think that not having pin spots will mean that your grandiose decor will be drowned out in the space. Not at all. Now, if you have a ton of flowers everywhere and we're that over the top, where it's like dripping from the ceiling and we got arches or backdrop, and there's lots of height variances and different textures that we're playing with florals specifically, and you've got some taller centerpieces or some lower centerpieces, yeah, it's just gonna look like a sea of roses, right? So yes, in a situation like that, when you've spent $10,000 on florals, they could kind of all blend together. But for the most part, with the budgets that I work with, that's not really the case.
That is the moment from our wedding that I think I will never forget. We just got married back in August, and here are 4 unique things that we did at our wedding that I'm so glad we did. The first one, we had our first look in our ceremony space. It was just us, and I got to walk down the aisle just to my now husband. And that was really special.
That's cute.
Actual wedding ceremony, a little bit less nerve-wracking because we'd kind of already done it, and it was really special.
Okay, love this, only if the lighting's good. But also it allows you to see your ceremony space before anyone else gets in there. And also, this only works if it's in an enclosed space and or your guests are nowhere around, which typically when you're doing your first look, it's about 2 hours before your ceremony starts, so no one really should be there. But also that means that your ceremony needs to be done being set up at this time. So there's a couple stipulations that kind of need to like plinko your way through before you can like give this the green light, but I do love this idea.
Number 2, I actually wrote our wedding ceremony,
Cute.
which means that it was very unique to us and the way that we wanted to be represented and the way that we wanted our union to begin, which for us was very balanced and equal.
This is super cute. This is also super overwhelming, and most of you are not going to do this, right? Like, we love this for her, and I love that she did this, and I love that she had the brain space to do this. She had the energy to do this, but most of you listening to this will be like, well, now I'm gonna have like a subpar ceremony because I didn't write the whole thing. Not so fast, George Banks. Check out Provenance, where they actually help you to put together an extremely unique ceremony script, including over 600 different unification ceremonies that you can add in. So you can go in, I mean, this is like highly customizable. You can also invite your officiant in on it, so you guys can have more of a collaborative effect here when we're putting together what your ceremony looks like. So don't feel like you need to do this and kind of build it from scratch and invent it all from nothing, or do it all on your own, because frankly, who has the brain space for that? This girl does. Love her, applaud her, snaps for that, but most of us don't. So if you want to have a unique ceremony, but also want to make sure you're not missing anything and you don't want to invent it from scratch, I highly recommend checking out Provenance. I think I have a code for them. I'm going to go ahead and leave it on the screen right here if you'd like to go ahead and apply that. I love them. If anyone is holding a microphone at your wedding, whether that's your officiant for your ceremony, speeches, or vows, they have you covered. This is not sponsored. I just like them a lot.
For the first time as a married couple, Michael and Anastasia, you may now seal your marriage with a kiss.
I'm just so happy with how it turned out though, because it's just so special looking back, and everything that was said is so meaningful to us. Number 3, we low-key had a wedding set. Allow me to explain. So instead of trying to like spritz the whole room with something, instead I got tea light candles that were scented. So half of them were lavender scented and half of them were vanilla. And it made the room and all the tables just smell so sweet and warm and inviting. I think that that's a little touch that people may not have realized that they noticed, but it was definitely there. I walked in, I smelled it. It was delicious.
I don't like this idea, okay? And here's what I love, that you love it. And if that like inspires you and you just watch that and you're like, I'm doing it, cool. Don't let me stop you. I'm just a random lady on the internet who plans weddings. Here's why I don't like this. Number 1, it could affect the taste of the food, which you definitely don't want to be happening. If it's lavender and vanilla and you're eating like a steak with chimichurri, like that gives weird vibes, okay? That gives really weird vibes. 2, people with allergies, we really run the risk of kind of irritating those when we have a ton of scented candles burning in one room. Now, if you want to do this, I recommend doing it very sparingly. However, the third thing is, I know for me personally, I'm like on a lower tox journey, so we don't really burn scented candles in our house at all. Now, when I go to an Airbnb that has a Glade plug-in, I can taste it in the air, and I cannot rest until I find that bad boy and yank it out of the vault, okay? Endocrine disruptors, you know what I mean? But I don't want to squash your vibe and how excited you are about this idea. Just keep in mind that those that are sensitive to scents like that, like literally have to leave your event early because they have a headache or some sort of allergic reaction to the scents. So if you feel like you don't have anyone in your life that applies to, then go for it. But honestly, I would not recommend this really in any case ever. I'm sorry, you're so cute, and I'm so glad that you like these ideas.
And number 4, guys, this one was not planned, but ended up being the best thing ever.
Oh,
Shout out to our DJ for making this happen, but the very last song at our wedding, he had everybody get in a big circle around us. We had all the lights down and just the flashing lights going, and he played Don't Stop Believing as our last song. And it's so funny because I am literally a small town girl who then met my husband, who is a city boy born and raised near Detroit. It's just funny. That song hits different in Michigan, okay? It hits different. And Michael and I were just in the middle of the circle, just dancing and just like bouncing around, and just the lights were flashing in our eyes, and we could just see everybody in the circle around us, and I cried that whole song. So that being said, I highly recommend having a last dance song at your wedding, but instead of having it be just you two, have everybody gather around you and just be in a big old circle.
I had so much fun with you guys. Let's give it up for Michael and Anastasia!
You could feel the energy. It was just the best moment ever.
Y'all, I will say this until I am blue in the face. Professional DJs with great reviews, who you vibe with, are worth their weight in gold. DJs are the unsung heroes of wedding days because they know all of this stuff. They know all of these ideas and all these details, and they know that if you're a more extroverted couple, or one of you is, and you would love to have a send-off like this instead of a last dance just the two of you by yourselves, like they can pick up on your vibe and they know this about you. My guess is this DJ got to know this couple and realized that the groom's just from outside Detroit and she's a small town girl and just thought this would be the perfect way to end the evening. If you want to have a really intentional and incredible evening, I highly recommend investing in a good DJ. Now, don't mistake me. I'm not saying super expensive DJ, but find someone who's great on the microphone, really good music selection, and knows how to host a good party.
Okay, and how many guests are you going to have at the wedding? Should be about 100.
Okay.
Great. So with that head count, here is the total cost. Sorry, could you actually make the head count on the contract 75? I thought you were having 100 guests. Right, but if I sign a contract for 100 and some of my guests RSVP no, I still have to pay for the 100 guests, right? That's correct.
That's not correct. I've never seen this happen at a venue at all whatsoever. I think it's actually better to book higher and trim down than it is to book under and run the risk of not having enough supplies on hand. Okay, hold on. Let's watch the rest of the video first.
Yeah, so if I sign a contract for 75, then if some of my guests RSVP no, I don't have to pay for those extra guests that couldn't make it. And I'll just update the head count the week before.
Nope.
Yeah, that's pretty smart. How do you know this? I follow the bougie cheapskate, so I never have to pay extra.
Okay. I love the name bougie cheapskate. Like, obviously I work with brides that are balling on a budget. Like, I like money saving hacks, but this ain't it. First of all, if you're having this kind of conversation, then this is at an all-inclusive venue. So this is at a venue that likely includes catering, drinks, possibly desserts, chairs, and tables. So already we're not going cheap. Okay, we are going with a much more expensive alternative, because if you do go where you like DIY and bring together your own vendors, you can get this for a lot cheaper. So if you are looking to have an inexpensive wedding, first of all, get down there and subscribe, because that's literally what I teach you to do on this channel, because I have a heart for couples that have not a lot of money but still want an incredible wedding day. That was my husband and I when we got married. We spent less than $10,000 on our wedding and it was incredible. There are regrets that I have about it, of course, and I learned a lot along the way, but after working with couples for almost a decade now, I'm here to tell you that if like cheapskate is what we're going for here, don't go for an all-inclusive venue. Okay, now that we've established that, if you are going all-inclusive and they handle tables and chairs, they may be outsourcing those items through a rental company. They may not have those in-house. They actually need to have those contracts set in place ahead of time. So what we want to do is have a number that's a little bit above what we're intending to have there on that day. Because could you imagine if you booked 75 and then actually got 100 and you're notifying them a week before your wedding, which is also not accurate because you need to give them that number way ahead. We'll get to that in a moment. And then the supplier doesn't have enough chairs or tables or tablecloths because you gave them a 7-day notice for a 25% increase on all of your rentals. That's not feasible and that's not wise. In a situation like this, your venue will likely tell you your last cutoff date for when you are going to give them your head count. Typically, this is about anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks in advance. This is why your RSVP date of a month before your wedding is very important. So when that day comes around and a bunch of people might not have RSVP'd at that time, you can call them, bug them, text them, email, and carrier pigeon, whatever it happens to be, so you can have a solid number to take to your venue. With that number, they will then finalize any of the furniture they might be renting, any of the linens they might be renting, glassware, plates, etc., and finalize the shopping list for the chef and the bartenders. So no, you should never be signing a contract for 100 people and then automatically be locked into serving 100 people. If that is included in your contract, I highly recommend negotiating a little bit of a different deal, because yes, you can negotiate with your venue and you can always ask. It doesn't hurt to ask, especially if we do it kindly and appropriately. Now, what we want to avoid is signing up for a food and beverage minimum. That's where they get you, because let's say you end up falling under that number. Yes, you are stuck with that minimum, which means you then have to do add-ons, more expensive desserts. I literally had a couple that got married at a place that had like a helicopter pad, and they rescheduled after COVID, and so they like weren't meeting their minimum, and this is the part that this is where it gets sticky. So they're like, well, can we get some money back? And the venue was like, no, you can't. It's a food and bev minimum. It's not a guest count minimum. And then they offered to have the couple come in for their grand entrance on a helicopter. And the couple's like, all right, done. Sign me up. Absolutely. I love that. I love everything. But did they do the grand exit with it as well? This another one of my planners worked this, so I don't recall how they like left. But like, that's what we're looking for here, not guest count. Don't lie about your guest count, and definitely don't update them a week beforehand. Just watch out for food and bev minimums, okay? So that's what we have for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you find good TikToks or reels or shorts or whatever, send them to me, please. I would love to see them. If you have TikToks of your own wedding, send them to me. I want to see, because honestly, half the time I'm just sitting in a small office without the AC running, so I'm sweating, because then hopefully the audio will be better and you don't have to listen to the whirring in the background, so you're welcome. So to see your real life weddings is actually really fun and really exciting for me, and I love everything about that. So send me your photos or your TikToks or your whatevers, okay? Because I want to see you. And I adore you. And thank you for being here. If you haven't done so already, jump on down there, hit that like button, especially if you like the whole TikTok reaction style video. I haven't done them yet, specifically because my wedding planning TikTok I can't access anymore. I got like 34,000 followers, which is like on TikTok is not that much, I know. But I can't sign it. Like, I can't get into it. So I was putting it off. So you better like this video and subscribe to this channel for more tips and tricks for the modern day bride. And until next time, bye guys.